wheel if I got in a good opportunity. So, I'm still getting there in the light. The tunnel's getting a little bit brighter each and every week. Obviously there's ups and downs in this Cup deal, but it's been a great year at Go Fast so far, and I've been able to show what I'm capable of. All the stuff lines up, in just the right way with the right people and good equipment.
Corey, but I want you to talk about, basically where this was no cakewalk for you. This was an uphill climb. I remember when you used to run late models, you won the ARCA races, late model races at Rockingham. And then, of course, you'd win on Sunday or win on Saturday. And the next day, you're beaten doing construction work or doing some type of climbing up ladders or doing a hard man's labor, as they say. And I think that's what's wrong with a lot of people in this that are fans of NASCAR today. They think that all you guys have a silver spoon in your mouth, that everything is given to you. Talk about the obviously, I know you said it's a long story, but talk about the struggles and the trials and tribulations you went through. Being the son of a two-time NASCAR Busch Series champion, and he made you earn for everything you ever got. You worked for it. You never had anything handed to you.
Yeah, there was never, honestly, it probably made it a little bit harder just because people assume that since my dad has had a successful career that, I had all these opportunities laid out in front of me to succeed, which, I never had a new car. The only new car I ever had in my entire career, we built a late model stock that I was probably 15 or 16, and we took it to Rockingham to test, and the left rear hub broke, brand new left rear hub, and we absolutely destroyed it, and it had about 12 laps on it. So that was the last brand new car, even in my Cup career to date. I mean, I don't think I've had anything newer than 4 years old in my Cup career. So, people assume that all these cars are equal and the motors are equal and this, that, and the other. Man, they're not. And it's the lower funded cars. They can only buy 4 or 5 year old outdated cars, and they can only get on a B or C engine package. And anytime that we can get up there and race guys that have a bigger budget with better and newer cars, and that's a win for us. But people don't care to do their due diligence and do the research to know, and anything I've won in up to this point, with lesser caliber, cars and help. And, the help was me and a buddy from high school, I didn't have full-time guys like Matt Martin and a lot of these guys, and Chase Elliott, when he was running K&N, had a full engineering support, and he'd go test all these places with Lance McGrew and Kenny Francis, and we were beating those guys with we were like six-pack, that's what we were. And I didn't have that great shot with a big team, but honestly I don't know if I'd have been ready for it if I did get the opportunity. So I do feel like now if I got the opportunity, or when I get an opportunity to drive some race-winning equipment, I'll be able to capitalize. But, I take everything. I appreciate everything now. I don't take anything for granted. But, it's been a lot of hard work that nobody really seems to know the story, because I don't want to, beat my own chest and saying I made it here the hard way. But because I made it here the only possible way I could. It wasn't, I didn't have options on how to make it. I just kept going, kept working, kept, building my network of contacts, and, a lot of people helped me out financially. Obviously, everybody talks about this guy buys his ride, that guy buys his ride, this guy made it because of hard work, this guy, no. Let me tell you, every single driver that you see on TV had a substantial amount of money at one point or another, right? Somebody supported them, whether it was Kyle Larson, right? Kyle Larson has the most talent probably of anybody under as much as Kyle Busch, right? He can jump in any car and make it go fast.
Right.
And he had Rico Abreu's dad financially behind him to support him. It's like everybody had a break, or everybody, and the guys that you don't see that are still good drivers didn't get that break financially. Like, people can assume that this guy paid for a ride and this guy, and Corey made it on his talent and made it hard work. Yeah, I had a lot of work and I got a little bit of talent. But if it wasn't for Youth Theory as a company back 4 or 5 years ago, if it wasn't for their $500,000 investment and to get me back into an Xfinity car, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So everybody has to have money to get into one of these seats.
Definitely. You put it there very well said. Jeff Moon chiming in on the chat box, and he says he hit it right there on the head with that. It's not as fab as the life as people think that it is. And it's really not, Corey. Obviously there's the fame of it, of being a race car driver and being able to do what you do on Saturday night or Sunday afternoon. But there's also times where I know you have, media obligations, autograph signings, things to do with the race teams. You're always on a schedule. Things are always on an itinerary. And sometimes you're just like, I just want to go off and just go jump in a swimming pool and be me.
Yeah, but it's actually during the week, all your stuff's kind of scheduled and you kind of know what's coming up, whether it's competition meetings or I can go to Dad's shop and work on some seats. Right now I'm actually working on a seat for Dale Jr. He actually just posted on his Instagram. He's redoing one of his old man's Novas he's found.
Oh, wow.
Grand National cars. So I'm building a seat for that. So that'll be pretty cool. An old Banjo Matthews style seat. So I'm excited to be a part of that project.
That's a name that a lot of people might not remember in late model racing, Banjo Matthews.
Oh yeah, so that's I got a seat I'm tinkering on. I have 2 little projects like that. I built some Mario Karts for Kyle Busch and Brexton over the off season. So I'm always working on something that isn't the norm. I always like to build some trophies or toys or some sort of thing to keep me occupied.
Got a question coming in via the chat box, and Corey, the fan wants to know, what is your favorite racetrack to race at?
I try to like all of them equally, but it's hard to not like Bristol. You can really get your elbows up and you feel like the driver has a little bit more of a say so at those places, more so than the bigger mile and a half.
And by the way, speaking of Bristol, we are going to recap the 3rd annual Short Track Nationals, or Short Track U.S. Nationals this past weekend. I had the privilege to be the announcer for at the last great Coliseum. Stephen Nassy will be joining us, of course, at the bottom of the hour here, or just a couple of minutes after, as we are spending time with the driver of the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series car number 32 Ford Mustang for Go Fast Racing of Corey LaJoie. Corey, real quickly, buddy, just talk about the opportunity that is now presented to you with Go Fast Racing, charter ride. You're guaranteed a starting position every weekend on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. And just talk about the successes you've had this year so far. You've had some pretty strong runs. Most recently, a top 15 finish in the Coca-Cola 600, which is a grueling endurance race.
Yeah, so that we finished 11th at Talladega about a month ago now, and people can kind of write off Talladega or Speedway just because there's so many different factors with, people wrecking or whatnot. So people might try to write off a good result like that at a super speedway just because that's how that racing is. But you can't write off 600 miles and ended up 12. So that was really cool for our team. And obviously we caught all the right brakes, caught the cautions at the right time, and we were in a position at the end of the race to put on tires and beat and bang for the last 8 laps and block some people and make it all work. So that was great for us, and hopefully we can get a couple more opportunities to race like that throughout the year.
That's one thing I like about you, Corey. You just said it. You said it's team. It's about team. It's not just about the driver. It's not just about Corey LaJoie. It's the team. They helped you get you to that position of locking in a top 12 finish, of course, at Charlotte.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's good pit stops, right? There was a couple green flag pit stops, and there was, the car obviously drove good, because if it doesn't drive good, then you're going to be in the way. So it's all the time we spent in practice, all the notes we've compiled throughout the course of the year to this date. So, obviously I can't do it on my own, and, Kyle Busch can't even do it on his own as good as he is. If he was driving, an inferior car, I promise you, he wouldn't be winning races. Because you're only as good as what your car is. You're only as fast as the horse you're sitting on wants to ride, right? Wants to run. So people think that the drivers do carry some of these things in certain events, but for the most part, it doesn't matter how good or who he is. nobody's making a 30th place race car contend for a win. So, I wish the broadcast did a little better job of talking about that and just showing the discrepancies between the bigger teams and the smaller teams. With, my team's got 14 employees, where Hendrick has 400. You know what I mean?
Right.
100 per car. So it's hard to tell that story without beating. Feel like you're beating the drum too much. So I try to just do the things I can do well and control what I can control, and hopefully sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Corey LaJoie joining us on Finish Line, presented by All About Wraps and CrateInsider.com. Coming up at in a few moments, Stephen Nasse, winner of Bristol Motor Speedway, and when he lands in Connecticut via text message, Burt Myers, who went shotgun on the field to win a big modified race at the Madhouse Bowman Gray Stadium. Brandon Paul chimes in with a question. This is from Brandon, not me, Corey LaJoie, but he says, at what point in his life did he realize he was going to be way cooler than his brother, Casey LaJoie?
From birth.
There you go, Brandon, from birth. So go ahead.
It's cool. It's cool to see Casey kind of carving his own path out and racing away from what I'm doing. He's definitely not using any sort of shadow from my career. He's working in that videography field with college racing, and he makes some badass content for those guys. And it'd be cool one day to be able to hire him or work with him in a company that puts out media. So he's doing a good job. And hopefully he keeps on digging.
Yeah, and of course, I've had the privilege to work with him many years on the microphone, announcing. Most recently was at Millbridge Speedway for the 51 Open, and he was Casey's a good guy. He's a good guy, just like you are, Corey. And your dad's an awesome guy, man. Every time I see your dad, Randy, he knows who I am. We chat, we laugh, we cut up. Just talk about the relationship you had with a race car champion like your father, Randy LaJoie.
Say that again.
I said, just talk about the relationship that you had with your father and with a two-time NASCAR Busch Series champion like Randy LaJoie.
Yeah. It's he was definitely hard on me growing up, just because he didn't want to see me make the same mistakes he did, but he has a unique way of offering advice. He likes to kick you in the balls and then help you up, right? He never builds you up continually. He always has a way to kick you in the balls or push you down, and then he'll help you up, right? Keep you at bay. So, if it wasn't for him and his connections, I wouldn't be in position on that. So, I'm very lucky to, there are a lot of things that he told me when I was young, I didn't want to hear, didn't think that he knew what the hell he was doing. But the older I get, I appreciate some of the things he told me, and I come to find out a lot of it still applies.
Talk about the old Phil Filler Fairgrounds and all the great stories that you could probably say about some things. What are some stories that stick out about what is the old Phil Filler Fairgrounds? And people might not know what that facility is. Describe that real quickly and then give us a couple of good stories.
It was just a little 19th mile go-kart track that my dad built when he was driving, and just a couple of his buddies would go out and pretty much race some yard karts. I mean, they were flat karts, like the racing type, but that's where I cut my teeth growing up. I didn't race against kids my age till I was probably 12 or 13. I always was just getting beat up by older guys like Timmy Fiola and Kevin Harvick and a lot of those guys. So I raced grown-ass men when I was a little kid to cut my teeth and figure out how to race. And anytime I would, because I was so much lighter than they were, I would always pass them, and then Dad throw the yellow and make me start in the back and do it all over again. So that's where I learned how to pass and learn how to really race and learn racecraft from there.
Gotcha, definitely. Is there any story that sticks out as something you'll always remember at Phil Filler? Your daddy told me a story one time about he got arrested. Or not him getting arrested, his wife got arrested. Your mom got arrested because y'all were putting the sport betting on.
Straight up got arrested because we bought about $3,000 worth of fireworks for a 4th of July race that we had, and man, she was pissed. Yeah, we were firing them off, and there's an apartment building next door, and I think one of them went off and hit the apartments and went off. the cops showed up and